What's good, fight fans? Your Majesty speaking. This video is the video that I've been hyping, amping up, and talking about since I started this channel. One of the things that I noticed is a lot of people are on the Terrence Crawford bandwagon. But why? Is it because of how he looked versus Madrimov? Is it because of how he looked versus Sean Porter? What about Kell Brook or Mean Machine or David Avanesian? Or what is the reason that we feel like Crawford, or that most feel like Crawford can beat Spence? Can beat Canelo? 9 times out of 10 is because of how he looked in the Spence fight, right? If Crawford wouldn't have beat Spence, we wouldn't be talking about Crawford versus Canelo. It wouldn't even have been a thought. And so I just wanted to shed a little light on you guys as to most people feel like he can beat Canelo because of Spence, but I'm going to show you why the Spence fight was a fluke. I'm going to show you why Spence made Crawford look better than he actually is. I'm not just going to tell you, I'm going to show you. And so my first reasoning for saying that is because most people are going to say Spence had a car accident. Spence looked like he was on drugs. Spence didn't look the same. Spence wasn't the same. Spence ain't the same. Whatever. The real reason why Spence didn't look the way that he was supposed to was because he was tailor-made for what Terrence Crawford is good at. And so when I say that Spence made Crawford look better than he actually is, it's no slight or no disrespect to Terrence Crawford. And it's also no slight or disrespect to Errol Spence, because it should show, this video should show Errol Spence that there were ways to beat Crawford, or ways to at least do better in that fight, so that you didn't get beat the fuck up like he did. But like I said, it's no disrespect to him, but there were things that he did in that fight where he went wrong. Now, let me explain this to you. The thing about Terrence Crawford is he is like a locomotive, a train that once it gets started, it's hard to stop. And so with Crawford, the first round of the fight is very important. The reason why I'm saying this is because the little things that Crawford picks up on, he may not take advantage of it right away, but at some point in that fight, he's going to take advantage of it. Once he gets a bead on what it is you're doing, and he can kind of figure out what it is you're doing, especially if you are a repetitive person, he's going to pick you apart. And so the reason why Spence made Crawford look better than he really was because of what Spence was doing, not so much what Crawford was doing. Crawford, to his credit, was pretty much just taking advantage of the things that Spence gave him, which is what he should do, which is why I'm saying this is not a slight to him. But it's also for those people who feel like because of how he beat Spence that he can go in there and beat Canelo like that. You're sadly mistaken. And so, as I said, I'm not just going to talk. I'm going to prove it to you as well. Don't believe me. Believe the footage. And so my first clip is round 1 of Spence versus Terrence Crawford. And I want to kind of break down what Spence was doing incorrectly that caused him to get his ass beat. And so if you look at round 1, we know class is in session. Hold on. Where my glasses at? Let me go grab my frames, because I'm in professor mode right now. Let me go grab my frames. So I'm in professor mode. I'm about to teach class. So we all know, all of us that know boxing, we know that Errol Spence is the type of fighter who gets going based on his jab. He likes to pepper you with his jab to kind of close the distance. And then he likes to attack your body to kind of break you down. And normally, what he does is he breaks you down throughout the rounds to the point where he can kind of beat you up. Now, with Crawford knowing that, and I was a victim, I didn't see a way that Bud could beat the shit out of Crawford. I seen a way that Bud could win, but not the way that he did, which caused me to pay a little more attention to this stuff. And so, understanding how Errol fights, he likes to establish his jab, normally behind a solid base, right? Now, if you look at Spence fights before the Crawford fight, before the Errol Spence, before the Danny Garcia fight, before the Sean Porter fight, Earl was a lot more fundamentally sound. If you go back and look at the Lamont Peterson fight, you go back and look at the Chris Van Heerden, you go back and I know y'all gonna say, well, these ain't this level of fighter. It still doesn't change what his fundamentals was. And so I'm just bringing up those fights so that you can see how there was a difference in Errol Spence based on fundamentally what he was doing wrong. So fundamentally, he was establishing his jab, which is what he should do. But where Errol was making a mistake at was he was throwing his jab repetitively at the same speed, at the same rhythm in the first round. Now, as I said before, the first round is very, very, very important when it comes to Bud. Notice Spence is throwing his jab at the same speed, same rhythm, same everything. Now, the first thing I want you to do, we're going to pause it here, is I want you to peep the fact that he's lunging when he throws his jab to the body. Crawford picked up on that. Very first round, as you can see, it's 2 minutes and 42 seconds into the first round. Spence notices Crawford notices Spence lunging. Let's keep it going. Right now, notice Crawford is feinting because he wants to see what kind of reaction that Spence is giving him. Now, notice I got on the screen, Crawford is downloading Spence's tendencies. Notice Crawford hasn't thrown a punch yet. We 20 seconds into the round. He hasn't thrown a punch yet, right? Earl jabs again. He's trying to get Crawford to back up off of him. But what does Crawford do? He goes back to his feint game. Earl throws another jab. All of this stuff is allowing Crawford to get the timing and the rhythm and the speed of Spence's jab. Now, what Spence wasn't doing a lot of was feinting. Spence he may have had 4 or 5 feints in the whole fight. Now, in this feint that you're going to see was very important, right? But he didn't do enough of it. And once Crawford noticed that he didn't do enough of it, it didn't give Crawford anything to think about. So he has the timing of his jab. He has the speed of the rhythm of his jab and the speed of his jab. And now he notices, okay, this right here, in most people's eyes, they would say Errol Spence is winning the round. He's out jabbing Bud, right? But it's two sides to boxing. It's also a strategic side. The reason why the reason why Bud hasn't thrown a punch in almost a minute is because he's downloading information for down the road, for rounds later, right? Now, I'm going to play this, right? Now, right here, the fight is already over because he knows that, and this is round 1. This is why I'm saying round 1 is so important. He knows that Spence is going to throw his jab repetitively. Whenever I feel like taking advantage of his jab, I can. Whether that's me wanting to get out of the way of it, whether that's me wanting to slip it and counter it, whether that's me wanting to jab with him, I have his rhythm down pat, right? At this point, Crawford is classes in session. But for Spence, he's just trying to do what he normally does, which is get his jab established because that's how he gets the ball rolling. He has no clue that this fight is already over, right? So notice there's a second feint. Notice when he feints, it makes Crawford kind of hold up a little bit. Now, if you look at this clip, you can see Errol still lunging as he's throwing his jab, right? Now, notice how when Spence throws that overhand, notice how he lunged forward. Crawford is taking in all of this information, right? So now Crawford is going to throw a feint right here, right? This feint is going to allow him to know what Errol Spence is going to do when he does throw a punch. You know why? Because he's already picked up on the fact that Errol Spence is a repetitive fighter. When Crawford feints, Spence is going to lean to his left, but also bring his rear hand forward. Pay attention. Now, see that? You see that? He brought his rear hand forward. Bud didn't take advantage of it, but you better believe he noticed it. Now, right here, Bud is going to actually jab now. He's going to notice that Spence is going to respond to his jab the same exact way that he responded to that feint. Pay attention. Feint, jab, boom. Look how Earl back arm comes out. All of this stuff, when they say he's downloading data, same thing again and again, right? Look how his backhand comes forward and he leans to his left. That's all stuff that Bud is taking in. So when you hear fighters are downloading data and, calculating, this is what they're doing. A lot of these people aren't going to teach the casuals and the people who may not be casuals what certain things is, but we're going to learn on this channel for sure. And if y'all got any questions, please be sure to inbox me, put them in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer your questions. Also, like and subscribe if you haven't. We're going to get this thing started, up and running. Now I want to go to round 2. That was all in round 1. Bud picked up on so much in round 1. Why? Because Spence was so busy trying to get his offense started that he wasn't paying attention to being defensively responsible. And he wasn't paying attention to the tendencies that he was doing, jabbing the same, at the same rhythm, at the same speed, at the same pace. When he's getting feinted, he's leaning to his left and bringing his back hand forward. All of those things Bud was calculating and Spence had no clue, right? Now, keep in mind, the title of this video is Spence made Crawford look better than he actually is. No disrespect to Crawford, but it's the truth. And don't get me wrong, Crawford is the truth because you have to be a great fighter to be able to take advantage of the mistakes that Errol Spence made. You know how I know that? Because Ugas didn't take advantage of him. Danny Garcia didn't take advantage of him. Porter almost took advantage of him, but not to this extent, right? So we're going to go to round 2. Now, I want to show you how all of those things that Bud calculated in round 1, how he took advantage of them in round 2. So we're going to go to round 2, right? We're going to go to round 2, and we're going to play round 2. Now, notice, I want you to notice that Spence can no longer land his jab. Bud is going to be able to do whatever he want to do with it. He's going to be able to catch it. He's going to be able to fade from it. He's going to be able to shoot his jab with Earl. I just want you to understand how boxing is a science. A lot of people say, oh, he's not getting no knockouts. He's not doing this. Boxing is a science. It's not called fighting. It's not called knockout. It's called boxing for a reason. We're going to learn today, though. All right? Now, I want you to pay attention to how Crawford is no longer allowing Spence to land his jab at all. Right? Hold on. We having some technical difficulties. Let me get this back up here. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. Class is in session. Class is in session. All right. Let me go back a little bit because we done came forward a little too much. Okay, now Pay attention. Spence can no longer land this jab, right? Notice how Bud is catching it. He still sees that Earl is leaning, but you see he could have jabbed him right there. He didn't take advantage of it, right? Now notice he's going to start jabbing with Spence, which is going to almost deter Spence from wanting to throw his jab with full power. You're going to start to see Spence start to take a little power off of his jab, right? Right now, notice he's still lunging forward. Crawford already got it in his bag that he's lunging. Right. Watch this jab right here. You still gonna see him lunging forward. Look at his back feet. Look how much space between his feet is. No longer shoulder width apart. He's always off balance. Right. So now I'm gonna pause it right here. He knows when Spence's jab is coming because he already has the rhythm. Watch how he jabs with Spence. When Spence jabs, look, every time Spence jabs, he knows when it's coming. He's going to jab with him, right? And it doesn't make it any better that he's in a southpaw stance, which means Crawford is normally a right-handed fighter, and so he's jabbing with his power hand up front. So that makes the jab even more devastating, which is deterring Spence from wanting to throw his jab with the velocity that he initially was doing it. Let's continue. Let's continue. All right. Now, right here, Crawford just testing his strength. He wants to see how much he's taken out of Spence so far. He knows that he can bully him a little bit. Notice the feint, right? Now, notice how Crawford could have took advantage of this lunge, but he didn't, right? He pulled it back. But right here, he takes advantage of it. This knockout happens because Errol Spence isn't doing what he should be doing. Not to take any credit away from Crawford, because I know people going to see this title. They're not going to watch the video, and they're going to just assume that I'm hating on Terrence Crawford. I'm giving Crawford all the credit in the world, and I'm going to give him all the credit in the world in this fight against Canelo too. But I'm just here to break down boxing. And for the people who feel like Bud can whoop Canelo because he beat Spence the way he did, I'm just letting you know why he looked so dominant against Spence. It was so much less about what Bud did and more so about what Errol didn't do. Okay? Now I'm going to show you the difference. We're going to look at some of Porter Crawford, and we're going to look at some of Majimov Crawford. The reason why I'm looking at these fights, these two fights in particular, is because one, Majimov was his last fight, and it was his fight at 154, which is the closest thing we have to measure him by from what he's going to be fighting on today. And Porter was a couple fights ago, but Porter has high-level feint game, a high-level feint game for me to be able to show you what I want to show you. The reason why I picked these two fights is because Canelo has a high-level feint game. And I want people to understand boxing. Not just pick a fighter because you like this fighter. Not just pick a fighter because you like black people and he black. Or I'm Mexican and I'm going for the Mexican. Let's talk boxing the way that boxing should be taught. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't never heard nobody say they don't want the Mavericks to win the championship because Luka white. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's only in the sport of boxing where we bring up the race shit based on who you pick to win. Shit, I'm an Eagles fan. I'm pretty sure it's a bunch of white people, black people, Spanish people that all love the Eagles. It ain't even about race. We just want our team to win. You know what I'm saying? And so, and maybe if you looking at it like America versus Mexico, okay, cool. To each his own. But if you want to learn boxing the way that I know boxing, the way that I was taught boxing, then we're gonna do it the way the X's and O's way. You know? We're going to do 2 + 2, and we're going to show our work on the paper. It ain't going to be no calculators over here. We're going to learn it the correct way. Now, I'm going to bring up, I believe I have Majimov as the first fight. I just want to show you how different a feint game can be more detrimental or can be more beneficial in a fight against Bud because he's so intelligent, right? So when I say Spence made Bud look better than he really was, it's more so because Spence, from an IQ standpoint, wasn't there with Crawford. So I know people, like I said, I know people gonna look at this title and have their own opinion or whatever the case may be, but I'm gonna teach you. Your Majesty will teach you today. So we're gonna look at this this Madrimov and Crawford fight, and I just want you to pay attention to how the feints cause Crawford to think faster. You see what I'm saying? So most times, if you can put a person in a position that's a thinker, if you can make them think faster, you can make them make mistakes, or you can make them hold on to things that they may have been trying to do. So we're gonna look at this. I'm gonna try to get this video within 30 minutes. We already at 22 minutes, but sometimes when class is in session, time is not of the essence. So I want you to look at how much more cautious Bud is. Now notice the quick switch. Now this is the first round. This quick switch to southpaw wasn't just because he wanted to. He switched because the feints that Madrimov are throwing at him, look at these feints. He can't get a beat on when he wants to attack, right? And so from the orthodox position, I'm going to pause this because I want to teach you. From the orthodox position, let me say it the opposite way. From the southpaw position, when your lead hand as a southpaw is right over an orthodox lead hand, which is their left hand, Crawford can paw with his jab or muff with his jab to kind of feel when he's going to attack. And so for people that say, oh, Crawford's IQ is high because he switches, do you understand why he's doing it though? Well, if you don't, this is the channel for you. I'm going to break it down. He switches to southpaw because the feints are disruptive. They don't allow him to do what he want to do comfortably. So he has to try to find another way to attack it or another way to be able to control your feints. So this is an adjustment that Bud made, but it's an adjustment that Errol didn't make. This is why I'm saying Errol made him look better. No disrespect to Crawford. So switching to southpaw allows Bud to be able to control his lean hand, Israel's lead hand. Now watch this feint, right? This feint allows Israel to be able to land this same lunging jab that Earl was trying to land. But the reason why Israel is able to land it is because Crawford didn't know whether he was feinting or whether he was jabbing, right? So these feints in this first round is helping Israel kind of control Crawford, unlike Spence was doing, right? Now we're going to switch to this Porter fight. Same thing in the Porter fight. Look at Porter's feints, right? Porter's feints, it causes Crawford to take steps back to get room to be able to think, right? He does not know when, where, how Porter is going to attack him with these feints. Notice every time he feints, Bud has to react to it. He has to take a step back. He has to lean back. He has to, get his head off the line. He got to change his angle. He has to do something. In the Spence fight, Spence wasn't making him do anything, right? Now, I just want you to notice how much faster Crawford has to try to process this stuff, right? Notice how he back and forth, even in the Madrimov fight, he's back and forth. He's retreating to find space to be able to think, right? These first rounds are very, very important versus Crawford, man. If you lose the first round battle, you're going to lose the fight. I'm going to say that again. If you lose the first round battle with Bud Crawford and he starts to be able to time you, catch your rhythm, pot shot you, understand how you're going to react to feints, you're going to lose the fight. And so I say it again. Errol Spence made Crawford look much better than he really is. Like I said, it's no disrespect to Bud, but if you look at round 3 on, which I didn't clip that because I didn't know how much of this shit I could really show, but I did want to get a little bit of it in. If you look at round 3 on, Earl totally forgot what boxing was. He just went into survival mode. And once he went into survival mode and stopped thinking, Bud was able to pick him apart. But it all started with that first round. When Earl thought he was establishing his jab, but he was on rhythm, he wasn't doing establishing his jab educated. Bud was able to pick up on that stuff, and that was his downfall the rest of the fight. And so when I say Spence made him look better, it's because Spence did not do his part. Notice we've never seen Crawford look that good before Spence, and we haven't seen him look that good after Spence. Now the Canelo fight is up in the air. Hopefully he can pull some shit together in this fight with Canelo. But I just wanted to get this video out because I know the big fight is later on today. But I wanted to get this video out to kind of explain to the people who feel like because Bud beat Spence the way that he did, that means he gonna go in here and somehow knock Canelo out. Because I'm here to tell you, from an IQ standpoint, Canelo is one of the best in the game. You won't be able to control Canelo the way he did Spence. Okay? Because Canelo's feint game is going to keep Crawford guessing. And I'm going to come back with a video explaining the way that I think Crawford can win and the way that I think Canelo can win. I'm going to try to have clips. It's so hard to clip all of this stuff up and get it in here. But based on this video, you'll be able to understand where I'm coming from with Crawford's path that I have for him to win, or the path that I think he can win on, and Canelo's path that I think he can win on. And then I'm going to give you my prediction in one of those videos, whichever one I think going to win. But I will say I do want Terrence Crawford to win. I do think that for history's sake, Crawford winning is better for the sport, because it'll give people in the future that thought process of shit. Roy did it, Duran did it, Crawford did it, and Crawford did it recently. So why can't I do it too? And so I just wanted to get that video out because I want people to understand boxing, man. Not just go with who you love or the fighter that you like, because there was so many people on the Errol Spence bandwagon too. And when he got beat the way he did, where these people at that was screaming Errol Spence? I don't see no Errol Spence videos. I don't see nobody banging Errol Spence. And I don't want that for Crawford. And so let me know in the comments if this video was informative, if you learned something, if you didn't learn something, if you already knew it. Hey, I'm not the only person that know boxing. It's people out there in the world that know boxing. But if you like what I'm doing, like, subscribe, and comment, and make sure you hit the bell button so that you'll be notified when I drop videos. I'm trying to be as consistent as I can be. And this is something that I love. Boxing is something that's been a part of my life since I was a kid. And so being able to get on here and talk boxing with people who love boxing is something that I love to do. But yeah, man, until next time.